You're listening to Homeschool Unrefined. I'm Maren.
And I'm Angela. Let's encourage each other, laugh, and get real about homeschool.
Welcome to the podcast where we keep homeschool simple, real, and fun. You've got episode 86, Where Nature Inspires Us, with Greta Eskridge.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Homeschool Unrefined. We are so happy you're here. If you're new, welcome. And if you've been around a while, hello again. Mm-hmm. And we just wanted to say a special hello and thank you to our Patreon supporters. If you are interested in getting an extra episode per month, and you can support us on Patreon by going to patreon.com/homeschoolunrefined.
Yes. And Angela, we haven't talked much about Audible or Audible listens lately.
No, we haven't.
Can we get into that?
Just a little bit. Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So what are you listening to on Audible, or what have you been listening to?
Okay, so I didn't tell anybody about this. I don't even think I told you. Maybe I did. Everything is Horrible and Wonderful by Stephanie Wittels Wachs.
No. Never heard of it.
Okay, so it's a memoir.
Okay.
Her brother, Harris Wittels, he's a writer on Parks and Rec.
Oh, yes, you did tell me about this.
I did tell you about this because I know you love Parks and Rec. Okay.
I love it.
And he died of a heroin overdose. Mm-hmm. So it kind of sounds like, why would you want to read a book about that?
Yeah.
Because it's about grief.
Yeah.
But it's also, like the title says, everything is horrible and wonderful. It's about good, beautiful things mixed with grief. And it's just, she's a great writer. It's a beautiful story. I listened, she read it on Audible, which I love those memoir read by the author.
Too.
I know. And it was such a great book. So that's my favorite of late.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah. How about you?
I just finished the Parker Posey memoir.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And it's called You're on an Airplane, a self-mythologizing memoir.
Okay.
So the whole time I was listening to it, I was thinking, are these real stories? Or is this is self-mythologizing? So what does that mean?
What does that mean?
But it's so Parker Posey. I think it's just who she is. She is very funny and very like straight-faced kind of, serious face, but very funny.
Yeah.
Underlying funny things. So it was just a lot of rambling stories.
Okay.
They didn't always go anywhere. And I found myself getting lost a lot. I'd have to like rewind and be like, what are we? But I have to tell you, like, even with all that, it was entertaining.
Yeah.
It was a great read. I mean, I loved it.
Remind me and everybody else how we would know Parker Posey.
So I learned of Parker Posey when I started watching the mockumentary shows from the 1990s.
Oh, yeah.
Like Waiting for Guffman, Best in Show.
Yeah.
Those type of things. So,
yeah.
And she was also, before that though, she wasn't like Dazed and Confused.
Okay.
And some other like kind of indie movies, you know?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. She's always
But she's funny. She's a comedian.
She's very funny. But also just, deadpan face.
Yeah.
Which I just love. Yeah. So, yeah. And my kids are listening. To Roald Dahl as usual. We went to go see the Winnie the Pooh movie. What is that called? Christopher Robin.
Yeah.
Yes. We went to go see that. And after that, I was inspired to pull out my Audible of Winnie the Pooh, and we listened to some of those stories. Like, because they're short stories. Each chapter is like a little short story.
Right. And they're good.
They listened to it.
I know.
Which I thought my kids were done listening to Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, no. I read it aloud to my kids last year. I read aloud House of Pooh Corner last year.
So great.
And we were all into it.
That's awesome.
We're all into it. Yeah.
I loved. Have you seen the movie?
No, but
you should probably go see it.
I probably will. It's on my list since we're going to be seeing lots of movies this year.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. So if you are interested in getting a free trial membership at Audible, a 30-day free trial and a free audiobook, you can go to audibletrial.com/homeschoolunrefined.
Yeah. So Angela, what did you do this weekend?
Okay. So this weekend, I wanted to tell everybody it was our anniversary.
Yes.
And we typically, I hate to say that we don't celebrate our anniversary. We don't ever we rarely take any trips.
Right.
Or
you don't
we don't make a big deal of it. Mm-hmm. Usually we go out to dinner or something.
Sure.
But this year we decided to do something kind of big.
Yeah.
For us. And so we went up to the North Shore in Minnesota.
Yes.
And it was amazing. Lake Superior. Yes. It was amazing because we stayed at this place that has like guided adventures. Kind of, and I'm putting in quotes for free. They're not, I mean, it's included with your stay. Sure. But there's like many choices throughout the day. I mean, there's probably like, 5 to 8 different choices of things you can do throughout the day. And I loved it because we went canoeing on a river.
Yep.
And it was so beautiful. Yeah. And what I loved about it is if I wanted to go canoeing at the North Shore, I'd have to find a canoe, find the best spot.
I know. Figure out how to get back.
Figure out how I'm going to get there. How am I going to go there and back? What if the current's really strong? I don't know how this works. And so this, like, we had a guide who just drove us to the spot. There's canoes there. You know, he took us up the river and back, and it was so gorgeous. And he knew the best spot to go. Yeah. So I loved that so much. And we did a couple other really exciting kind of adventure things like that. You know, we went hiking. We went hiking.
On Instagram.
We did a ropes course.
Yes.
Yeah. If you follow me on Instagram, you saw all this.
And you really, I mean, whenever I see you up high, I'm just amazed because you have a you have a fear of heights, right?
Yeah. And you're acting like you don't know that. You know that. You're like, aren't you? Yeah.
Try not to make it a big deal.
Aren't you deathly afraid of heights? Yes, I am.
Didn't you cry last time we went up? It's okay.
Did you start bawling when we went? What did we do? Ziplining. Yes, I started crying.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
I'm just so impressed with you. You do things that you really attack your fears.
I don't know why I do this because there was this thing you could sign up for, go on this ropes course, which actually I had been there in 7th grade. Because, like, a lot of school groups go to this place, and I went in 7th grade, and we did the ropes course. So this is like 30 years ago. And I got up to the first one, and I was like, nope. And I walked back down.
Not doing it.
And I watched all my classmates, like 100 of them, do the thing.
Oh, man.
And I was like, nope, tough. Not doing it. And that's always kind of stuck with me. So when I saw it was an option to go do this ropes course, I was like, I could redeem myself.
Yeah.
And so
not that you have to.
Jeremy did not. No, I know. Jeremy did not want to because he's also afraid of heights. But he was doing it for me. And
we get there. That about Jeremy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we get there and he's like, we're both so scared.
Can't believe
and I was like, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done this. I'm so sorry, but we cannot back out now.
No.
We're with a group of people listening to the instructions. So anyway, he did it first, and it was so hard to watch him because it was just from the ground, it looks terrifying. But then when I did it, it actually wasn't that bad.
Okay,
it actually was not that bad. I was like, I mean, I was scared, but I also it was doable. And I was just really proud of myself for doing it. Yeah.
I'm proud of you.
What I was going to say is one thing I realized, and I've realized this before, but I forgot it. So it's always good. You know, you keep learning the same lessons over and over again.
Yeah.
Which is like for Jeremy and I, we need to get out and do new things together. Yeah. Like we need to experience something new together. Like going on this canoe trip or like doing the ropes course or whatever it was, or just hiking in a new spot. Yeah. We need to experience those new things together. And you are so good at that. You and Sean are so good at that.
I don't want to say I told you so, but
I know. I know you did.
I'm so glad you learned that. No, it's good. You're right, though. And it does take several times. I mean, you know, you have to learn the lesson several times in order for it to stick. I mean, it's not something you're just going to be like, oh yeah, we should just go and do fun things all the time. Well, we have responsibilities and bills to pay, and we don't have like
limited time and money and energy.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But then, I'm so glad like there comes to a point where you're like, oh my goodness, this has to be a priority.
It does.
You're right.
I am so glad we did it because it just, I don't know, it brought that home for me. Like we have to probably schedule this.
Yes.
Otherwise, it won't happen.
Yep.
And we have to say it's important, and we have to keep finding those new and different things to do.
Right.
Yeah. So
I'm so glad. All right. We are so excited to have our very special guest on today, Greta Eskridge. She is a blogger, an Instagram. I don't know what do you call them? Instagram blogger. She's an Instagram
she writes
blogger.
a lot on Instagram.
Oh yeah, and her Instagram stories are just amazing and inspiring. She does a homeschool podcast with some of her friends, and I love listening to them. And she's just an all-around inspiring person.
Yeah, she has this excitement and energy and love of her family and nature, and it just comes through in her words and her pictures. And I think her Instagram was your Loving This Week way back at the beginning.
I think so. Yeah.
Because watching her stories when she takes her kids in nature really inspires us to want to do that more.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and yeah, just her love and wonder for the world, I think, is just overflows. So we loved having this conversation. So I hope you enjoy it.
Hi, Greta.
Hi.
Welcome to Homeschool Unrefined. We are so glad to have you.
Thank you. I am really glad to be here.
Yeah. Could you start by telling us and our listeners a little bit about yourself and your family and your hobbies or things like that?
Okay. Well, I'm Greta Eskridge, and I am married to Aaron Eskridge. We've been married. We just had our 20th anniversary this summer.
Well, congratulations.
Awesome. Thank you. And we have 4 kids, ages, let's see, they all had birthdays. They're 14, 12, 10, and 7.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. 3 boys and 1 girl.
Yep.
And we live in Southern California. I've lived here my whole life. And we have been homeschooling from the time my kids basically were born. And I don't see us stopping in the foreseeable future because I love it.
Oh, that's so great. And you have done lots of things. I know you've done a blog.
Yes.
And you like to write.
I do.
Yes,
I've been writing on a blog, actually, various blogs, because I start one and then I'll do it for a while and then I'll be like, oh, I need to start over with a fresh new look. And I've been doing it for 10 years, actually. I started when my daughter, who's my 3rd, she was born, and that was in the era of scrapbooking. Remember scrapbooking?
Yes.
And so there I was with a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a newborn, and I said, I will never scrapbook again. That part of my life is now done.
Yes.
Cool. But because I mean, who has time to cut out pictures and tape cute, stickers and things? It was never going to happen. So, but I wanted to be able to record our days and my life as a mom with little kids, and I wanted to remember it all. So, I had never even heard of a blog, but I read an article in Bon Appetit by an author that I liked. And at the bottom of her article, it said, she blogs at blah, 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 whatever her blog was. And I was like, what's a blog? So, so I looked and I was like the heavens open. I thought, I can do this. This is my new scrapbook. And I just started blogging. And at first it was just my mom and my sister who read. I don't even think my husband read anything that I wrote. And then, I just did it because I loved writing and I loved capturing our days in our life, and it's just grown from there.
That is so awesome. I love that you just took hold of that, and now you are on Instagram a lot too. And I feel like I know that's not well, you do some writing on Instagram. You do write on Instagram. But also, I love your stories too, because it's kind of like, it's a video blog almost. Blog.
Yeah, I think I might be the only person who ever writes to the maximum number of characters on Instagram. I literally have people say to me, wait, there's a limit of how much you can write? I'm like, oh, yes, there is. And I know it.
Well, I think that's great. A lot of people are there. That's where a lot of people are reading things now, too. So.
Right. Yeah. So I write a lot on Instagram. And then when I want to write even more, I blog still. on my website is gretaeskridge.com, and I have a blog there. So I write longer pieces there, but I do write a lot on Instagram because I think a lot of people, like you said, that's where they are. And then I share stories on Instagram where that's like totally the unfiltered Greta, and it's a lot of fun and probably kind of silly.
I think that is so great. I love that you have the unfiltered Greta.
We need that. We need people to be unfiltered.
Yeah, hopefully in the best ways.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's inspiring. So for sure, we on our podcast we love talking about personalities and personality frameworks. Do you know any of your personality types?
I do. I just in the last couple of years learned about Enneagram and Myers-Briggs, and I don't know a lot about either one, but I'm learning more and I find them fascinating. Yeah. So my Enneagram number, I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Is it Enneagram?
Yep. Yes. It is.
Whew, thank goodness. I didn't want to out myself fully of how little I know. But I'm a 7, and my Myers-Briggs, I don't have it memorized, but I wrote it down so I could share it with you. It's extroverted, of course. So ENSP. Yep. So I'm a big feeler.
Yeah.
all the feelings, all the fun, all the adventure.
Oh, totally.
Yep.
Okay, so Greta, I am exactly the same. I am ENFP at a 7.
That is awesome.
I feel you. I do. I get it. And you love the adventures and all the fun times your family can possibly have. I know.
The downside I find is that all the nitty gritty practical details are not my strength.
Totally.
Right.
Because that's just not as much fun.
It's not as much fun. Exactly. No, you're right, but you know what? It's okay though. And I have to have this self-talk every day to myself that it's okay that I'm not strong at all of those things. It's okay.
Yes, we need all kinds of people to make the world go round.
Yes, exactly. And my kids will be most blessed when I am who I am and not trying to be someone else. Because when I try to be someone else, I'm really crappy. I am not fun to be around. So it's better if I'm just, not good at something.
I agree.
You guys, your kids are going to grow up with fun moms, really fun, adventurous moms. That's awesome.
Right.
I sometimes wish I were, more fun. But I too have to be myself.
So. Yeah.
No, you are.
My kids probably sometimes wish I would be more organized or, less fly by the seat of our pants.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Oh, totally. Oh, yes, mine too.
My husband probably would too.
I was just saying the same thing. I think my husband would love it if I were a little bit more organized, but
So speaking of adventure, Greta, one reason we were drawn to you is because you just have this love and enthusiasm for nature. And that's why we wanted to have you on the podcast, because we've been talking about nature all summer. We read this book, How to Raise a Wild Child. And so we're just wondering if you could tell us, how did that develop for you? Were there experiences or people in your life who kind of instilled that love in you?
Yeah, I have loved nature for really as long as I can remember, from the time I was a little girl. And I didn't grow up going backpacking or on incredible, trips through the Swiss Alps. We never I didn't even leave the country until I was 16 years old. And my dad and I went on a trip to India, and that was my first time flying on an airplane. And prior to that, I was in California and never even went out of the state. Wow. So I didn't grow up in my early childhood years going to all these amazing natural destinations. But I think that there were two things that really grew a love of nature in me. One even though I grew up in Southern California, we lived in a small rural town, and I had a huge backyard with avocado grove all around us.
My goodness.
So
my goodness.
we climbed in the avocado trees and played in the avocado grove, and there were empty fields full of, California poppies every spring. And I just spent as much time outside as I could. And then I read a lot of books that were steeped in nature. And those two things just filled me up with a love and a longing for nature, and a love and a longing for adventure.
Yeah.
And so that's really where it all started. And it's just grown since then.
I love this for so many reasons. But I think because of our, Instagram world that we're in, we do see people going to all the amazing places all the time.
Right.
And I have major FOMO with that. I mean, especially when it's on the top of a mountain or something. And I want to be there. And it's so good to hear that, like, we are not stunting the growth of our children's, love of nature by keeping them in our backyard,
Right.
There's so much right there.
There is. I was homeschooled, and therefore we were a single income family. My dad was gone a lot working to support us. And oftentimes we didn't even have a car because we had one car that he took to work. And so we couldn't go out anywhere. In addition, my mom had a lot of physical difficulties with her back. And so she was never physically able to take us hiking or, even like on a nature walk. That plus my mom loves to be home. Like, she and I are polar opposites.
Yeah.
Right.
She loves to be home. She hates to be dirty. Like, adventure to her is horrible. So, so it just, that was the world that I grew up in. But what she did give me, because we were limited with the ability to go out places beyond our backyard and, the empty fields next door, was she gave me books. Like, she loved to read, and she introduced me to books that she loved, books like The Yearling and Where the Red Fern Grows, that are steeped in nature. And that just, it fed the desire that I had, and it made it grow.
That is so great. And books have the power to do that.
They really do.
Wonderful. And I loved the podcast that you were on, the Read Aloud Revival podcast, where you talked about your favorite books about nature, right? Oh.
Yes. Yeah. That was so fun, because I hadn't really reflected that much about where my love of nature came from. And when I was preparing for that episode, I realized, like, oh, wow, this is where it really grew to this passion.
Yep.
And then to see now that I get to do it with my kids, because I don't have the same limitations that were in existence when I was a kid. I don't have the physical limitations that my mom had. I love adventure. I don't mind getting dirty. I'm not afraid of mountain lions or rattlesnakes.
Right.
So I'll take my kids on a trail. And, we are blessed to have 2 cars. And if we don't, my husband rides his bike to work. Currently, his car is broken in our driveway. He's riding his bike to work. But, those limitations don't exist. Yeah. There are limitations. I still haven't taken my kids to the Swiss Alps, but we can adventure where we live, and we definitely do.
Yeah, and that feels like a lot of freedom.
Yes. And a
Definitely.
dream come true. I mean, really, I feel like every time, I'm glad you guys can't see that I'm about to cry, but honestly, every time I take my kids out and we're out hiking or something, I'm so overwhelmed with the fact that I am living my childhood dreams, with them. And it's even better than if I would have done it then, that I get to do it now.
Right. Gosh, that's so good. So because you love being in nature, and you have this freedom now, is that one of the main reasons why you wanted to homeschool? Or I know you were homeschooled as a child too. So I'm just wondering, was nature a factor in that decision? for you?
Not initially. Initially, I just wanted to homeschool my kids because when I was homeschooled, I loved it.
Yeah.
And then I taught public high school for 5 years, and I loved that too because I love teaching and I loved my students. But I felt the limitations of being in a classroom and trying to meet all the needs of all my students. Gosh. I mean, I had like 150 students, and it was. I just thought I can't meet all their needs. And so if I have 4 students or however many kids God gives me, I could meet their needs. And so that's initially why I chose homeschooling. But then in a short period of time, and the way that we decided to homeschool, nature became a central element of our schooling. And that was just an unexpected gift of God knowing my heart's desire from the time I was a kid, and then bringing it into play to me as an adult.
Yes. So Angela and I were both teachers also.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
Yep. I taught elementary school and Angela taught middle school.
Yep.
Yeah.
Science.
And so we kind of, we definitely felt that same way for sure. So when you decided to homeschool, what kind of homeschool environment were you hoping for?
Okay, so it's kind of a funny story. I initially totally thought I would be a classical education style person. I really thought I loved the structure of it, and I'm going to be perfectly honest here. I really loved how smart it would make my kids look. And me, like as a former homeschooler, there's always this element of I need to prove that this works. And I don't know if I really thought it through that honestly at the time, but I think I wanted to prove not only did it work for me, but homeschooling works so well, it's going to work with my kids. And if my kids are in like 2nd grade and they're speaking Latin and they know, 50 states and capitals, I'm going to look like a rock star.
Right. Yep. Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah. And they are too. So, that was part of why I classical, it just sounded amazing. And, and I think it definitely has amazing aspects to it that I really admire. But once my oldest got a little older and we were ready to start thinking about school, and I honestly assessed who he was as a learner and who I was as a teacher, I realized that the structure of classical education was like not going to work for either one of us. And that was terrifying, but then it was really exciting because I got to discover that the kind of education I had actually been longing for from the time I was a kid was what I was going to be able to offer to my kids. And so I took a different approach. I started studying Charlotte Mason, and I really chose a style that is a kind of a mixture of her philosophies, heavily steeped in literature and nature study, and then just my own, because I love to make up almost all of my own curriculum.
Oh, yeah. That's so great. Greta, this is so inspiring because you are showing us, and we need to hear it more and more, that the more we are ourselves, the better this is going to go for everybody. Our kids need us to be who we really are. And when we try to do something different or be someone different, it doesn't work. And so you are coming like fully alive to your children when you are showing them your loves, which is like books and nature and adventure and things like that. And so I think that is such a good reminder for us.
Thank you. I just felt like I said, this part of me that wanted that kind of education from the time I was a kid. And my mom homeschooled us in a time when there was no internet. There was limited resources. It was like Bob Jones and Abeka were your only choices. And so she didn't have access to all of the information that I do now. And as I looked at myself as a learner, as a child, I saw that those things I was hungry for as a kid, I could still feed my own heart and then and mind and my own children's heart and mind. And that was just incredibly freeing. Just like you said, it's incredible to be ourselves as we educate our kids.
Right. Yeah. That's so good. So why do you think nature is so good for us? What is it about it, and why is it essential for all of us, including our kids?
Oh gosh. I feel like you're opening up a can of worms here. Meaning I have a lot to
kind
say.
of a big question.
I have a lot of opinions. Okay, but I'm going to start with a quote. I'm sure you've heard of the book Last Child in the Woods by Richard Louv.
Yes.
And that's one of my favorite books. And I think that he has such incredible wisdom to offer about why time in nature is really important for our kids. And one of his quotes is, "Time in nature is not leisure time. It's an essential investment in our children's health, and also, by the way, in our own." And I love that quote because he's talking about being out in nature in a way that's just for the experience. We don't have to write an essay about it. We don't have to have any measurable data. We don't have to have a test. We just need to be out there because it affects our health. So our children's emotional health, their physical health, their spiritual health, their mental health, every part of who they are is impacted. And then ultimately, academically, they'll be impacted as well because of what nature offers them.
Yes, that is so good. And I have to remember this every time we have a group of, families who go out into nature every week too, just like you. And I have to remember every time to kind of keep my hands off the situation and just let them be in nature and just be there. Breathe it in and enjoy it. Because I love nature so much, I want them to do all the things that I think are great in nature. And it just doesn't always, it just does not work that way. They need to take it in the way they need to take it in, and that is the best thing for them. So,
right. Sometimes they just want to build a fort out of sticks and logs and palm fronds or whatever. And to us, we think we can be tempted to think that is a waste of time. But when we stop and look back at all that they're learning in the moment, they're learning teamwork, they're learning communication skills, they're learning how to build something out of nothing, they're using engineering. Like there's so many different things that are going on in a completely unstructured and really like a natural way. That's incredible learning experience. But again, it's not something that we can measure. But all learning doesn't have to be measured. And that is something I think that is so important for us homeschooling moms to remember, because we live in a world that says the only learning that matters is learning that can be measured. And that's just not true.
I'm sure one of the reasons why we all probably started homeschooling or decided this, it had to have been a factor for so many people, because we don't need to do all that documentation of every single thing, and it just kills learning for so much of us. And to be able to, kind of be free of that and just trust that your kids are going to learn in a natural setting, because that's what we were born to do.
Right. Yeah. I think another reason I love being out in nature and making learning in nature a part of what we do is because I think nature, it invites us to be more curious. So we have to slow down and observe, because if we want to find that amazing bug or catch the snake or, see the wildflowers, we have to slow down and we have to be curious. And then it invites us to learn even more, because it invites us to wonder. We're like, well, why, why does that bug live here? Or why does, how can I tell the difference between this kind of snake and that kind of snake? So it invites curiosity, and it invites us to learn even more. We want to go home and learn more. And that's just that's what you want for your kids.
Yeah.
you want them to wonder, you want them to be curious, you want them to be lifelong learners. And I think nature is one of the ideal places to give that gift of being a lifelong learner to your kids.
Oh, totally. And nature always gives you great answers. You ask questions and the answers are always so amazing.
So much more than you ever expected.
Yes, exactly. So do your kids love being in nature as much as you do? And if they do, how did you get them? Because I know a lot of our listeners have asked us, how do we get our kids out into nature and love it?
Okay, so I have to give one caveat that I live in Southern California. So I have kind of, I'm really very fortunate in our natural environment. One, we have hardly any bugs. I know a lot of you live in places where you have to deal with mosquitoes.
Oh,
like
so many
crazy.
Mosquitoes.
Ticks, chiggers. We don't even have chiggers here. I don't know if you guys have chiggers where you live, but I experienced some one summer in Florida, and I was like, these are the worst things in the world.
Yep. We have them.
I've been outside in nature for 40 years and have had a tick on me one time, and it was tiny, hadn't even gotten on. I flicked it off. So we just don't have to deal with bugs, and we have very limited extreme weather. I mean, there's no snow. So I'm really fortunate. And I just want to make sure people understand that when I'm here saying, oh, nature, we love to be in nature. It's great because it's pretty easy to be in nature where I live. Yeah. And so I just really want everybody to understand that so that they're not listening to me thinking, well, I'm a complete failure because being out in nature isn't my favorite. Well, if I had to deal with mosquitoes all the time, it wouldn't be my favorite either.
Right.
So that has to be clarified that it's easier for me. And so, but even so, there are some things we have to deal with I live in Southern California, close to Los Angeles. So we have to deal with driving to nature. Yeah. It's not in my backyard.
Right.
I live close to the beach, so the tide pools are easily accessible. But if I want to go to the mountains or the desert or even just a hike in the foothills, it's going to be our nature group will often drive an hour to 2 hours for a good hike.
Oh, wow.
One way.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's amazing. Yeah. So it's a huge event. Yes.
Yes. And that's just our norm. Like we know how to schedule it. Okay, traffic's going to be bad. We're going to go at this time. Okay, we're going to if we're going to a far destination, we know we're going to deal with rush hour traffic on the way home. We'll stay late. So, get dinner and then drive home after dark because that's just our reality.
Yeah. So, that's so funny because our nature group just this week decided to change where we were going to meet because of road construction. We were like, we're not driving that far. It's not going to
because it would have taken us like a half an hour.
Oh my gosh.
And we were like, well, we can just go 10 minutes away. It's right there. So
yeah. See, we don't have. I mean, there's a park 10 minutes away, but that's like not. We're not going to hiking on a trail. No. So. So there are limitations. They're just different.
Exactly.
But I think the biggest thing is that I've done to help my kids love nature is to just say, despite the limitations, we're doing it anyways, and we're going to do it regularly, no matter what. So it is a commitment that I've made, just like people are committed to their kids' sports teams or, we're committed to eating healthy or whatever your commitment is. I have made a commitment to get my kids out in nature. And I think that's the biggest and first step to get them to love it is you actually have to be there and you have to do it again and again. And that will help them grow a love for it.
Yeah.
Right. When they can expect it every week.
Right.
Yep.
And it becomes less difficult and less scary and more familiar and then more fun.
Yeah. And you're going with friends.
Yes.
So that's got to be a draw.
Yes, that was going to be my second thing is to include friends as part of the equation because everything's more fun with friends for them and for us. So I think that going weekly with our nature group has been a tremendously important part of the success, because they look forward to exploring with their friends, and walking on a trail side by side with your buddies is that's just a gift to give to them. And again, I always think about parenting and educating in the long term. So I think, what habits can I help my kids develop now that will see them through their whole life? And if I can give them now as children the opportunity and the love of spending time talking to a friend while being out in nature, that's a gift that will last them their whole life.
Oh, it's so huge.
For sure.
And I want to cultivate that, because I think that's something that will serve them well their whole life.
Absolutely. And they can have lots of success in this world. And if you don't have like a pressure valve, it can all just go away.
Right.
So we all need that. We all need the thing that we love to do. And we need to figure out how to do it.
Right. A couple other things that I've done, I think, that have helped my kids is to build their endurance. I didn't start with really long, difficult, hot hikes in the heat of summer when they were 5. Like when we started, my oldest was 5. I had a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. And when we started, we just went to nature centers because the trails were marked, and it was a small environment. It still felt wild enough that our kids felt like they were out in the wild, but it felt safe enough for us to be doing with our small kids. And success breeds success. So as they were successfully able to complete small trails, we could grow and we could do more. Not just the kids could do more, but we moms were like, hey, we can do more. Like,
we can do this.
And a few years later, we've got, babies strapped to us, and we're hiking like 5 miles to a waterfall.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
With all these little kids that have just been doing it enough to see they could do it. And, it was kind of amazing, but that's not where we started. We had to build up to that point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So that is a really good point. Going to a nature center can be your success. Just go there.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You have to start, you just have to be realistic about where you're at and not look at like you said earlier, the pictures of the people on the mountaintop and think, well, if I'm not climbing the mountain, it's not worthwhile. But it is worthwhile. You have to start where you are, and then you can grow. The last thing, I pack like we are going on like a 40-day journey, and it's, a 2-mile hike, but it can make or break your hike. And if you don't have good snacks, then it's doomed. So my kids each have their own backpack where they pack they carry their own water, and they pack their own snacks. And then in my backpack, I have a small cooler bag where I have lunch and more snacks, because we're always going to run out, and extra water. So I just feel like having the preparation, and not just like good snacks as far as like being healthy and making sure they have good energy for the trail, that's important, and I pack those snacks. But we also always have like something that's going to be a treat, like beef jerky, or a lollipop, or a fruit roll, or their favorite kind of dill pickle chips, or just whatever it is, something that like when they're dragging, I could be like, hey, look at what we got here.
Yeah.
Because it helps.
It does. Yes, it does help. That is such a good tip too, because I think we're doing this healthy thing. We should let's make it all 100% healthy all the way across the board. And really, kids need just a little motivation to keep going.
Yeah. I mean, you can make the healthy snack yummy, but just make sure you have something that's yummy, because that's, I don't know. I mean, when we go out with our friends, like we look forward to the treat, right? Yeah. And our kids are like us. They look forward to that too. So whatever that yumminess is in your family, just make sure you put some of that in somebody's backpack for this hike.
That's so good. I got to get better at that because I've been bringing like carrot sticks and
I
know.
Always brings up a bin of veggies,
hey,
which is great. It's actually good when we're hot.
Yeah,
I know.
The veggies feel
but
good.
I need to bring something good in addition. Usually my kids are like rolling their eyes at the veggies and all the other kids eat them.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. Maybe like strawberries. You could at least like do a fruit.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. So I know you talked about going to a nature center as being something easy that you could start with. Are there some other easy ways for getting out in nature?
Yes, I think even a park or your neighborhood are great places to go. One of the ways that you can make them feel more special and more like you're intentionally looking at the nature when you're out in those places that are more familiar is to get local field guides, because those will show you the trees and the butterflies and the bugs and the birds and the flowers that are in your neighborhood, in your park. And you can find those local field guides typically at nature centers in your area. You can also sometimes find them at your local library, or even like a local bookstore will have some field guides that are, to your specific area. And I think that really helps, because once you start being able to identify the tree that you've passed, 50 times, and suddenly you know the name of that tree, it matters more.
It does.
And it makes that walk around your neighborhood so much more important and special.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So I think getting field guides is great.
Yeah. It does feel like once you can name a flower or a plant or a tree, it feels like you have a relationship with that plant, almost like that's mine. I know that. That plant.
Right. And I think that once you have sort of grown outside of the park or the neighborhood walk or the nature center, you can look for something that's got a little more wildness to it. There are nature preserves, or you can even if you feel like, well, I don't feel comfortable taking my kids out on a hike where we might not have cell service, or we're far off of a trail, my kids are too young, you can look. There are amazing naturalists who lead classes for kids and parents, and they'll take you on a guided walk in an area that you might not feel comfortable going yourself, and really give you the confidence to be able to do that later on your own.
Yeah.
That is such a good reminder to utilize all the specialists out there, all the people who love doing this as a job.
Right.
I know our local nature center has classes too, all summer long for kids. So so great. So if let's say we're already getting out in nature, but we want a little more. I mean, I really liked your suggested, or what you're doing, which is building up endurance. That is what we need to do. We need to build up endurance. Do you have anything else, any other suggestions for people who are already doing a little nature, but could do more?
Well, I think going to interesting places really, that just ups the excitement level for everybody. You might have to drive more than 10 minutes. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Probably true.
But our nature group, we are pretty diehards about finding new spots. And so we're always researching places that are near or far that sound amazing or look amazing. And we make a point of visiting at least one, probably far off destination a quarter, so that we're taking the kids someplace new and experiencing new places. And that makes a huge difference. It's an effort, and it requires some sort of sacrifice or maybe several different types of sacrifice. It's going to take time. It's going to take gas money. And it might be a long drive, but it's just like, it is so soul filling for us to visit this place and see something new. And, it just makes us excited about nature all over again.
That's so good.
Oh my goodness. I'm so inspired. I know. Want to do that now. I think we need to up our game, Angela. All right.
Okay. Yeah, we do.
We have so many places we could be going.
I bet you do.
We do.
If you have nature 10 minutes outside your door.
We do. And we live about 2 hours away from Lake Superior.
Oh my goodness.
We are so close. I mean, it seems so far away to us, Lake Superior, but we can do it. I mean, we can do that.
Yeah.
You can. That's a day trip. Easy.
Yeah, I know. See, we don't think about it like that, but I think we need to kind of change our perspective on,
what's possible
and what's really worth it. I think it's totally worth it.
It's worth it. Greta, just because I'm curious, do you spend, like, usually, is your nature group like a half a day, or is it a full day, or how much time do you usually spend going on your adventures?
So if we're doing one that's nearby, that means like an hour or less. That we'll usually get there by 11. We're supposed to be there by 10:30, but we're generally always late. So one of the greatest things about living in Southern California is you can always say, "Oh, I ran into traffic," which is always true.
It's so true. Yeah. You just don't know what to expect sometimes. I'm sure.
Yeah, it's a great excuse for being late. So we generally start between 10:30 and 11, and on a short day we'll leave for home by like 2. On a long day we would leave 4. So it's a full day. Like most of us devote, like, it's just, that's our nature day, and we don't generally do much other school besides that.
Yeah, that's good. That's so good.
I am loving this. It's great.
And do you do it once a week?
Every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday. Okay.
And it's definitely not for everybody. There have been people that have joined our group and they just don't feel comfortable allotting a full school day to being out in nature. Other people are not comfortable with the amount of driving we're willing to do. And so, and that's fine. Everybody needs to find the group that works for them. And, I totally encourage that. It's not going to be enjoyable, and you're not going to do it if it's not the right fit.
Right.
And
for sure.
And you have to be honest with yourself, because you could long for something. You're like, oh, I want to do that. I want to be like them. But the thought of driving 2.5 hours away for a hike gives you the hives, then it's not the right fit for you, even if you really want to be that person.
Yep.
And that's just what you guys said earlier. You have to be honest about who you really are.
Yes. Yep. In every aspect of homeschooling.
Right.
Definitely, but this is just another example of that, for sure.
Yep. Well, Greta, do you have any other advice or wisdom or insight you'd like to leave us with?
Oh my goodness. Well, I do want to read another quote.
Oh yes.
This one's also by Richard Louv, and I think that it kind of goes along with what we were saying, like that it's worth the effort. So whatever that level of effort is that you're comfortable giving, it's worth it, and it might even be worth it for you to push yourself a little more. And I think this quote sums it up so beautifully. He says, "Prize the natural spaces and shorelines most of all, because once they're gone, with rare exceptions, they're gone forever. In our bones, we need the natural curves of hills, the scent of chaparral, the whisper of pines, the possibility of wildness. We require these patches of nature for our mental health and our spiritual resilience." Mm-hmm. And I love that, because I think it's not just the fact that nature can be gone as our world becomes more crowded and things get especially I've noticed it here in where I live, the housing projects push out more into nature, but our kids are going to be gone. And this is our time. This is our time with them. That we need to utilize it. And honestly, I'm the most connected with my kids when we're outside at the tide pools, hiking in the woods. That's the time that we're just together, and we're learning, and we're enjoying, and we're at peace. And I want to hang on to that and spend that time with them as much as I can. It is a prize that I need to hold on to.
Oh,
so it is such a prize. You're right. And we don't want to take it for granted. This is it. This is our time.
And I'm sure you're feeling it. Like, I have a 13-year-old and you have a 14-year-old, and I'm just, the next few years are just going to fly by.
Yes, they are. Yeah. They are. I mean, my kids talk about, my two older boys, they'll talk about, when they are done with our nature group and they start college or working, they talk about how they'll miss it. And they're like, well, we'll probably come back to visit someday, so we can like lead the hikes and stuff. And I just,
so sweet.
I just think that is fantastic. If they love it so much, they're already thinking that they don't want to let go of it. That's all that I can ask for.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. Well done, Greta.
Yeah, you're doing something right.
Well, I think I'm just really enthusiastic about this.
Yeah, that's great.
It's passing on. I hope.
Yes. And like Scott Sampson says in How to Raise a Wild Child, that is the fuel. The fuel is our wonder about the natural world. And if we can pass that along, then that is, we've done our job.
Yeah.
So well done. So I know I was just going to suggest another piece of advice I would give is follow Greta on Instagram because you often story about your adventures with your homeschool group, and it is inspiring. It's so inspiring. It inspired us to start our group, and we are so happy we're doing it. We're so happy. It is a highlight for us for sure. And every time we see you doing that on Instagram and everything you're doing on Instagram, it's very inspiring. So we are very thankful for you.
Thank you. That's amazing. I think how incredible it is that we can be doing the thing that we were made to do, and that can encourage other people to do the things that they are made to do. That's an incredible gift.
For sure.
It makes me like social media.
Yes, I know, right?
Oh, yeah,
There's so
for
many
sure.
good things
that
can happen. So are there any other places we can follow you, or maybe tell everybody about your Instagram handle, and then anywhere else we can find you?
Okay, so my website is gretaeskridge.com, and that's where I write more about homeschooling, mothering, and just topics that I'm passionate about. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram handle is Ma and Pa Modern. And you can find me Greta Eskridge as well, but on Instagram, I'm Ma and Pa Modern. And I have a podcast. We're on summer hiatus right now, but our podcast is called At Home. And we talk about a lot of these subjects as well on our podcast. So you can kind of find me all over. And maybe I'll even come. I've just started doing speaking engagements, so maybe I'll come speak where you are sometime. That'd be super fun.
That would be awesome. Yeah,
that would be great. Sure. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Greta. We loved having you on, and we appreciate your time and hearing all of your good nuggets of advice and wisdom about nature.
Thank you so much for having me.
Don't you just love Greta?
I love her more now than ever.
Yeah. Aw.
I love her.
Yeah.
And I want to go hiking with her, and I want to have some coffee with her.
Yeah.
In real life.
Greta should come to Minnesota.
Yep, she should.
In the summer.
Yeah, we should set up a little talk for her or something.
Yeah.
Have a little live.
And then a hike.
And then a hike. Yeah. Homeschool hike. I love this. I love it.
Yeah.
All right.
Should we move on to loving this week?
Let's do it.
All right, Maren, what are you loving this week?
Okay. I am loving a mug that I found at a local coffee shop. Well, it's not really local. It's Caribou coffee. So it's a lot like Starbucks, but just Minnesotan.
Yeah, and I would say it's better than Starbucks.
You would.
Wouldn't you?
Well, I don't know. I think it is because I think mostly because I'm loyal to it because it's more of a local place. I love it. I absolutely love Caribou coffee.
Yeah. I mean, when I used to drink coffee, I haven't drank coffee in a long time, but when I used to go get like the fancy coffees, Caribou was the best.
Okay.
And it's a chain, but it's kind of, I don't know if it's like a Midwest thing or what.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think it is in the Midwest. But anyway, this cup was on the clearance table. And
I'm looking at it right now.
Yep.
And it says,
"Say yes to adventure."
Yeah.
On the back. And then there's beautiful pictures of mountains on the front.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. I love it. It's so me. It's nice and big too, which I love.
I like the I like the handle.
Yep.
Because
it's the handle too.
It's rectangular shaped.
Yeah. It's big enough for 3 fingers. I need that.
Yeah.
It's important.
It's surprisingly hard to find a good mug.
Very surprisingly hard to find a good mug. And I'm finding myself to be more and more picky about my mugs as I get older.
Yeah.
Do you have a good mug?
I have a couple good ones, yeah.
Okay.
I'm more and more picky about all things as I get older.
Yeah, I know.
Not just my mug.
I know. I'm working on that because I don't want to be the lady who's picky about everything.
Yeah, right.
But I'm getting there. I have one other mug, though, I have to tell you, that I also absolutely love. And it's not even from a store. It's from, well, actually it is. It's from a coffee shop store, I should say, in Austin, Texas, which I go to Austin sometimes. My husband goes there a lot for work. And there's a coffee shop on South Congress Street, which is a big, kind of a touristy area. Yeah, it's called Joe's Coffee. They have the best mugs. Anybody in Austin, if you probably wouldn't go to this coffee shop because it's kind of a touristy place, but go there and just get their mug. It's amazing. It's my favorite mug. If I could get 10 of them, I would.
So wait, it's the size or the shape? Or?
It's the size and the shape. It's actually tall and skinny.
Oh.
And thick, a very thick mug. I just love it. Yeah. So
okay.
Those are my top 2 mugs.
And if I can find links for those, we'll put them in the show notes.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
All right. Angela, what are you loving this week?
Okay. I'm loving a book. I know I come on here and talk about books and podcasts a lot, but that's what I'm into right now.
We love to hear it.
Okay. So this is a reread for me. And it's called Peace Like a River.
Okay.
By Leif. Okay, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing his name right. If it's Leif or Leif.
Okay.
Enger. Okay. I read this book. I'm pretty sure it was 8 years ago because I remember where I was when I was reading it because it was so impactful. And I didn't remember much about it except I really loved that book.
Wow. Wow.
I remember thinking I loved that book so much. It was so powerful. And I knew it's about Minnesota. So
really?
This is a Minnesota author, yes. And it's about the winter. It's set in the winter in Minnesota. I know. And so I could really connect in that way. But the writing is so good.
Oh, great.
It is such good writing. It's phenomenal. And I am loving it so much the second time. I think I'm loving it even more.
Wow.
And I got it because it was on Kindle sale. Somebody, who promotes Kindle sales.
Mm-hmm.
And I just checked, and it's still on sale on Kindle for $1.33.
Oh.
So hopefully it will be when this podcast comes out.
Yeah.
But if it's still on sale, you should get it because it is so good. The writing is amazing. And what I'm learning, though, is that I need to reread books more. This is probably my 3rd or 4th reread kind of lately. Wow. And I've loved it when I've done that.
It's kind of nice because it's going to be good.
I know it's going to be good, but I also forgot what it was.
Yes, you forget what
it was about.
But also, yeah, you're guaranteed a good read and you don't have to make all the effort of a new book, like trying to figure everything out. It's like it's coming back to something familiar.
Right. I mean, this is like kind of a there's a plot and I don't know what's going to happen. I cannot remember what happens. So I am really anxious for that. I know. Yeah.
That's so great.
So I would recommend it. I think you'd like it, Maren.
I am going, if it's $1.33, I'm going to download it right now.
Okay, good.
For sure.
All right.
Very exciting. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for listening. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram. We're at Homeschool Unrefined there. We also have a closed Facebook group we would love for you to join. It's called Unrefined Homeschoolers.
Yes.
Yeah. We have some great conversations in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Lots of support.
Love to have you. Yeah. And then we have a website, homeschoolunrefined.com, where you can find links to everything that we talked about in our show notes. So we will see you next week.
Thanks for listening. Homeschool Unrefined was created by Maren Gorse and Angela Sizer. Thanks to Gambler's Daughter for providing the music for our show. You can find Gambler's Daughter at facebook.com/gamblersdaugghtermusic.